So tonight we are going to talk about some awesome fun stuff. And what we're going to hit on tonight is basically what you need to know in your first week. All right. So we've been all over the place with a whole lot of things, but we're going to talk tonight about what you need to know in the first week. Now, let me go ahead and preface this and say, um, I don't have childcare tonight or help. So if you see me get up and take off, um, it means like, I don't know, I'm trying to take care of a fight or something that's going on in the boys' room, just to make sure that everything is okay. But
And I'll
or
keep talking.
Catherine will keep talking, and you might get some entertainment. I don't know. But anyway, I said earlier, I said, maybe they'll come in and try to give some insight they've all nursed, so they can maybe they can give tips. I don't know. But anyway, so we're going to talk tonight about everything that you need to know in the first week. All right. But I was just prefacing this because y'all are in the middle of my hot mom mess right now. So this is what's happening and this is what's going on. Um, so, all right, Catherine, we have a brand new mom, brand new baby. And we've had a couple moms in here, a few moms who have had their babies. So congratulations, new moms. And I love that you're sharing your birth stories. That is amazing. I love seeing it. And so new mom, new baby. So regardless of whether you're a first time mom or a second time mom or a third time mom, right? There's still lots of stuff that I always say, if it could be better, right? If your birth experience could be better, if your breastfeeding experience could be better, if your whatever could be better, wouldn't you want it? Right. So what do you need to know in that first week postpartum to be able to get going successfully on this journey?
Well, first thing I want to say is remember, even if it's not your first baby and you've breastfed, it's that baby's first time.
Right.
So even if you're an old pro at it, this is a new baby. So this baby might not be like all the other babies. And so it's a new experience every time. But the first thing that I would say to get breastfeeding off to a great start is and educate yourself and make informed decisions about your birth. But after that baby's out, skin to skin. That is the single most important thing in that first 24 hours is keep that baby skin to skin, whether they latch very quickly or it takes them a little time. Keep them skin to skin. It alters your hormones as mom, but it also contributes to babies altering hormones too. And I can't say enough about that. And to define skin to skin, that's baby naked with just a diaper on and mom naked from the waist up,
Right.
or dad.
Right. And so let me ask this too, because everybody talks about the golden hour, when the baby comes out and all this kind of stuff. And so I think just in talking to some moms and especially in some of the demographics that I've worked with, just like they're like, oh yeah, I had the golden hour, right? So I'm good. But understanding that needs to be that first 24 hours, that needs to be continued, that it's very important for lots of reasons.
Well, and if you do have to have a medicated birth or your birth doesn't go as planned, sometimes babies don't necessarily get that, skin to skin. You don't get that golden hour. That doesn't mean that all is lost.
Right. Yeah.
As soon as baby can be skin to skin, put the baby skin to skin. That's really, really important. And frankly, I'm a huge fan of skin to skin for the first several weeks. Anytime, if you're hanging out at the house and you don't have company, naked from the waist up with that baby skin to skin. Frankly, I'm a fan of naked to the waist, baby skin to skin with a blanket over both of you, whether there's guests or not. They need, your guests need to get over it and let things happen the way they're supposed to for mom and baby. So yeah, So after the golden hour, I would say that, working on positioning and latch. And, I'm old enough that we went from, we talked about the 3 to 5 basic uh, holds for positioning for proper latch. And I've really changed my thoughts about that a lot, especially in the last few years. I'm a huge fan of what's called biological nurturing or laid back breastfeeding, where mom is super reclined, 45 degrees, mom 45 degrees back at least, or even laying flat on her back and laying baby face down on mom, skin to skin. Babies are amazing and they know so much. I've watched so many babies just wiggle and bob until they got themselves latched on with very little help. So working on latch and positioning, being aware that sometimes super long or super short pushing can cause baby to be kinked up. They have a headache, or their neck got wrenched on the way out. Those kind of things. Laid back positioning works really well for babies like that, but sometimes those babies take a little bit longer to open up nice and wide. And just gentle massage, for infant massage, the big thing is just, use a little bit of olive oil, coconut oil. I personally prefer, because olive oil gets sticky, but just rub that baby all over. And I'm going to share a video, not tonight. I'm not going to share it in the recording here, but I'll share it in the links because I have to find it. Americans are very timid about the way they handle babies. And I ran across a video of I think it's Pakistani moms bathing their babies. And it's aggressive, but it's gentle. It's firm. And that's what we all need. Think about what you feel like if you've ever experienced a massage. And I'm not talking like deep tissue, where it's hurts so good kind of thing, but just a good massage. And babies can benefit from that as well, especially if you had a precipitous labor, super fast out, or a super long one with baby's head engaged in the pelvis for a very long time. So
Awesome. Yeah, I think I've seen that video of the rigorous
yeah.
rubbing. I think I've seen that. I'll have to see if it's the same one. All right, so let's talk milk coming in.
Mm-hmm. So you had asked about engorgement, and that's milk coming in. First of all, I want to say milk coming in gives the impression that there was nothing there before, or that there's a huge defining line between colostrum and real milk. Colostrum's real milk too. I prefer to use the terms early milk and mature milk. And it's a transition for that. And when you have that, wake up in the morning, cantaloupes, rock hard breasts, that typically, for me, is a red flag that baby's not really been effectively nursing. But it happens. It happens sometimes, even if baby's effectively nursing. But it's kind of a little, hey, let's pay attention to this kind of sign for me. So if you have that engorgement, and you don't feel like your baby has been nursing well, you're not seeing peas and poops. That's always there's no need to measure what babies are getting. Watch for the pees and poops, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Lori,
I want to be clear, in the, just so that moms know and understand, right? Like what we're talking about here. So in the first few days, right, you have colostrum, right?
You have colostrum begins production about 16 weeks in your pregnancy and lasts until there's still some colostrum a week plus.
Okay.
So,
and so then, because I just had this question this week of, first time mom, oh my gosh, I woke up and like have rock hard double D's, you know, overnight my milk came in, like, you know, what happened with this? I literally in 2 hours, like I was baby nursed and then went to sleep, slept for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then all of a sudden I've got
yes.
D. What
yes.
is this? You know, how do I relieve this? What is this? So that versus continuing on your nursing journey and waking up engorged in the morning after a long stint of baby not nursing. So is there a difference between those two? And I'm asking from a mom's standpoint.
Yes. Yeah. I would say that, you know, that first couple of days, you know, take a nap, wake up really, really full. That's mature milk production really kicking in. And you know, yes, and that absolutely happens. Whereas a super long sleep, nursing could be going really well, and baby this is the time baby decides they're going to sleep for 4 or 5 hours, and that's pretty normal. And in both of those cases, reaching for the pump may not be the first or the best response to it. So let's talk about the 1 week when we'll worry about the other later.
Okay.
So for you know, that first time, oh, my milk's come in, engorgement, you attempt to latch baby, get baby latched. Sometimes babies have a great deal of difficulty latching onto a super firm breast. So one of the things that you can do is what's called reverse pressure softening. Let me get my handy dandy breast model. So with reverse pressure softening, what you do is put your fingers like this, and put your fingers like this, and push straight back. Because that initial engorgement, and notice that I'm not moving, I'm just leaving my fingers there. You can move your fingers around, but you're not touching nipple tissue. It's right behind the nipple. So you put your fingers there and hold on. And it could be anywhere from a minute to 3 or 4 minutes. It depends on how engorged you are. So that first engorgement sometimes isn't all milk. It's just bot fluid retention in between the milk cells. So you've got your duct work, but all that it's interstitial tissue, fluid. And so once you've done this, you're pushing all that fluid back into the breast, away from the nipple and the ductwork right around the nipple. So what you're doing is softening that up so that it sticks out more and makes it easier for baby to latch onto. So some moms will have that engorgement like all the time for the first couple of days once mature milk really gets into production, and they may have to do a little pumping. So one thing that I have suggested is get up in the morning, do as full of pumping, milk expression, hand expression, it doesn't really matter, expressing or pumping, to a soft breast, and then start nursing and nurse very frequently from that point on. Lots of times that one pumping will be all that mom needs for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Some moms might need it once daily for a couple of days. You don't want to do a whole lot of excessive pumping. Or any excessive milk removal, I would say, is anything above what baby can actually take in by themselves. Because if you're removing that milk, you're telling your body to make even more milk if you're already having those engorgement issues. And it's a balance. And your body in the beginning is like, oh, we're going to make a whole bunch of milk because maybe this baby wants a whole bunch of milk. Or maybe you have twins, or you have multiples, or you have a nursing toddler. That's that your body doesn't know until it switches from that autonomic for the first roughly, I don't know, 4 weeks or so, 4 or 6 weeks. Then you switch over truly to supply and demand. But up to that point, you're laying down milk receptors. And I have a ping pong paddle around here somewhere that has all Velcro on one side and just a few pieces on the other. And so think about it this way. If you don't nurse your baby frequently enough, you're not laying down enough milk receptors. So you're going to have very sparse Velcro. And if you nurse very frequently and effectively, you're going to have tons of milk receptors. This makes a difference for long-term milk production. And if you lay down all those milk receptors in the early days, you're not likely to struggle at all later on. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. So, question for moms who are going back to work, who know that they're going to be traveling, things like that. So talking, and I think there's lots of ideas about this in the mom world, right? Mm-hmm. Outside of lactation consultants. So, the whole ideas of freezer stashes and the whole ideas of, I need to pump to have enough supply for when I go back, because what if something happens, all this kind of stuff. So for moms who know that they only have X number of weeks leave, right? And they want to make sure that baby's taken care of, and they don't know how pumping at work is going to go. So they're doing it all up front right now to try to get it done, Let's talk about that for just a second. How can moms properly prepare and not have that anxiety and stress at the same time around all of that?
Well, I mean, first of all, just having these conversations and getting the information and preparing ahead of time is half the battle. I think that, we're living in a high anxiety world right now, way more than I ever did when I was having children. And so, things are a little different, but I think that preparing yourself by educating yourself first, and it really depends on a lot of factors. What kind of industry are you in? What kind of work schedule do you have? How soon do you have to go back to work? If you have to go back, the research shows that many moms are going back at 2 weeks. Can you imagine that? I can't even fathom that. But so if you're lucky, you get 6, or really lucky, you get 12. That's pretty much the American experience with new babies. And depending on what your answer is for that will determine what your routine would look like. So for a mom that's going back super early, like 2 weeks, spend that 2 weeks with that baby skin to skin nonstop, and perhaps doing some one-sided pumping while baby's nursing on the other side, because you're gonna want a little bit of insurance. And because of going back that soon, you're not gonna have the let's lay on the couch and nurse, let's lay in the recliner and nurse for, you know, 3 weeks or whatever, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that's going to be a very different experience for a mom that is, got 6 or 12 weeks. Again, I'm going to first of all say, don't start expressing milk, pumping for a freezer. Get breastfeeding going really, really well, as the best you can. And because you see all these pictures with freezer stashes, and go in the milk sharing groups. There are moms going, does anybody need milk? I want to get rid of it before it goes bad. It's already over a year old. It's not bad at over a year old, but think about the energy cost for mom to pump all that milk, and she's not even going to use it for her own baby. And there's nothing, and I'm not anti milk sharing, okay, at all. But, it's an energy expenditure thing. Think about the cost of time away from her baby, time away from her family to pump. I mean, yeah, she's probably right there with them, but it's still, she's focused on something else. The expense of bags or bottles or whatever she's storing in, that's a huge energy expenditure that isn't necessary. For moms that go back later, maximum 3 days worth of milk. That's really, that's kind of all you need. As long as you're in an industry that you genuinely can pump. Because I know there are many mothers in our area that are in work situations that their employers are not abiding by the law. But the bottom line is the family needs the income, and they can't jeopardize their job. So, if you're in a situation like that, the more you can stash, the better off you'll be. But for moms that are in a situation where they have a respectful boss that gives them the time that they need to express their milk, you don't need much of a freezer stash at all. The goal is, and this is for the maximum health benefits for your baby as well. The goal is to pump today what your baby's going to be fed tomorrow.
Right.
So if you have a freezer stash of 3 days and you pump today, you feed your baby everything except for one bottle of what was pumped today. You feed one from the freezer stash and you put one in, so that you never have expired milk in the freezer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. We will continue this conversation next week for Milky Mondays. And thanks everybody for being on tonight. And if you have questions, that's the big thing is, I know some of you guys are messaging me, and you can message Catherine too. That's fine, with questions. But
post them in the group.
Post them in the group, and she will answer throughout the week too. I mean, as she comes to them. So you don't have to just wait until Monday nights to get the answers to your questions through conversations that either you and I have had in the week or whatever. But go ahead and post questions throughout the group throughout the week, and she can jump in, or Chasta can jump in, and answer them as well. So
and remember, you guys are experts too in many ways. I mean, I see who's listening in right now, and you have experience, so don't discount that. Your experience is very valid, and it might be different from what I'm sharing, because I'm trying to give the perfect scenarios kind of thing. So share. I know there's a mom of twins that knows a whole lot more about twins than I do.
Yeah. I see her. All right. But anyway, so thank you all so much for being on here. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. Have a fantastic evening and we'll see you soon.